Hello, and thank you for joining me. This is Stacy Johnson with SF Johnson Consulting and Construction Services. And in this small class, we are going to review part of the structural set and the roof framing plan. So the roof framing plan is different from the roofing plan. Well, in the roof framing plan, because this is a single story building, the only framing portion would be the roof as far as the structural set. If we had multi stories, we would have the first floor ceiling joist and the second floor joist plan to look at, and then all the way up until we reached a ceiling plan. So this roof plan is part of the structural set. So what we'll find is the structural framing in terms of the roof framing, roof joists, and any of the columns, beams, and posts related to the structural framing. So this is a roof for a Popeyes Louisiana kitchen, and so what we're seeing here are it's going to show us when we talk about the structural set, the way that they represent the framing is going to be a little different. They represent it by using a sweeping arrow, which goes from one end of the building to the other end of the building in this case. And what that means is that you have the same kind of framing all across the entire roof. If it was different, say for instance, if this was a home and this roof framing was different, there'd be another sweeping arm like this in this area, and it would tell you also um, the type of roof trusses. So this roof framing consists of a 30-inch minimum flat roof trusses, and they're placed at the 24 off center. And so basically the lines here represent the roof trusses, and they are manufactured to fit each roof specifically. So we know that this framing for the roof is their flat roof trusses, minimum width of them 30 inches, and we're placing them every 2 feet. So that's one thing. So we would determine for the purpose of the estimate, you could do it two ways. You could do it if you use a good cost book, it's going to give you the cost per square foot. And so you're going to determine how many square feet of roof you have. Or if you want to do it more specifically, you're going to determine how many roof trusses you have of each of the individual lengths. And so that would require from here to here, pretty much they're the same length. And then they get bigger here to here. And those are the same length until we get to here, right? And then they get bigger or larger when they get here. So two ways of doing it. It really depends on how detailed, but in real life, you would have to determine how many of the different lengths you would need. So, but the purpose of a cost for a purpose of bidding, you can get a cost book that would give you the cost that's approximates the same thing, but it would give it to you in square feet amounts. So that would be good. Okay, so that's the first thing that you would determine. And then, really you'd have to look in your methodical way of looking at each of the sheets. You start in one area and work your way all the way around until you got back to the other area. Because this is a structural set, we're going to be looking for the flat roof trusses. We're going to be looking for columns. What's the makeup of the columns? We're going to be looking for headers. So that's what we're looking for. And so everything here is marked. A means something. We have A's, and those are most likely the columns. And so there'll be a legend telling us what A and what B, C, and all the way down. So keyed roof notes. Here we go. So A's are 3. So we sandwich them together. 3, 1 3/4 by 5.5 LVL posts for hold down. Attach stud to stud with 2 rows of 16B sinkers at 12-inch off center. And so these are all of the posts. So in this case, you would count how many posts you would need of the particular height. And so wherever you have B's, you have 1, 2, whatever, and go all the way down and identify everything that's on the plan. Okay, so it's a matter of now you have to look at a section view, which it gives you section views right here. So 209 is a section view that gives us a view, the vertical height at this section of wall. 207 is a section view that gives us a vertical And really it's just showing us how the roof trusses are attached to uh, the posts, the beams, and the exterior walls. Okay, so you have to make sure you have that. And then third are the headers, right? So why do we use headers? Anytime we put a hole in a structural member, meaning when we create doors and windows, and a structural member, meaning a load bearing wall, we have to give the strength back in that area. And that's how we do it, by putting headers in the upper portion of the door and the window. So here it identifies different headers in the makeup of the headers. So header number one is a combination of three 2x12s with a 1/2 inch plywood spacer to match the width and column of the wall. And the height basically is 9 feet 4 inches above finished floor. So in this case, you would measure how many linear feet of each type of header you have. So you go around, look at the headers. This is header number 5. We would measure how many linear feet, and then that's how we would price it. Okay, so roof framing, and again, the framing plan in the structural set will be all the structural framing, because this is only a single story building. The only structural framing is the roof. If it was a multi-story building, this would be again the first floor ceiling joist attached to the second floor floor joist and all the way up the building. So we'd have all of those. Instead of the flat roof trusses, we'd have all the joists, and we'd have all the headers on the second floor, third floor, fourth floor. Think of a hotel. It would be the same all the way up until we got to the roof. And then the roof framing would be the last. So how they represent structural framing is by using the sweeping arms from one end of the building or wherever they're trying to represent that particular type of framing all the way to the other. In this case, they put the description of the framing right in the middle, so you'll know. So you need the area of that, or you can go through and specifically determine how many of each particular length of flat roof truss that you have, and that's what you'd have to do in real life when you order them, because they're made to order. That's the first thing. Second are all the posts and columns. So you would look where they identify all posts and columns, and then in the description it would tell you. So if your cost in your cost book is going to give you one time, so of course you're going to go through whatever it gives you as the material cost and the labor cost. You're going to, of course, multiply it by 3, by 2, by whatever it tells you, right? Because the cost book's going to give you the cost for one of these. So back to, for the takeoff for an estimate, the area of the roof, or individually measure how many linear feet of each type of truss you have. Second are all the posts and columns based on the information they give you. And third are all the headers. So posts and columns, you're going to say I have 10, 20 of each particular height, and you're going to look at the section views in order to determine the height of those posts. And the headers, you're going to measure the linear feet, looking at also at the keynotes of the makeup of the header. So area for the roof, each for the posts and columns, and linear for the headers. And also in a cost book, it's going to give you, you'll add a certain percentage for connections. So it'll be, if the cost is, it's usually about 15% of the cost of the material we add just for the connection. So we don't have to go through there and do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 15% of the cost of all of the structural members would suffice for the additional cost for the connectors. Okay, so here are how the roof trusses represent the roof trusses, and then this represents just the insulation, and how we make a flat roof more of an angle. So that's what they're showing us there. And then if we can go to some section views. Oh goodness, we've got the blue circle. Okay, there we go. We go to a few section views. Let's see. Oh, we went to the wrong section view. Foundation. Boop, boop, boop. All right, here we go. All right, so section views showing you And really that's all it's going to show you is how the exterior load-bearing walls are connected to the roof trusses and how they're connected and what they use. And so the height really you'll get from, you go to the architectural set, to determine the height of each of the posts. It's typically 10 feet for commercial, sometimes 12, 16, really depends. But in this case, you can go to any of the architectural sets, right, to give you section views of the exterior walls are here. So the posts are going to be, to the height, to this height. So really depends. You can go 14. And really for the purpose of cost estimate, you're going to, go over. So this is 14, 16 feet, columns or whatever, post 16 feet. You never want to cut yourself too short. So those are really, the height of the post would be really the height of these exterior walls. If you needed that information, that's where you could get it. So the posts here, A, B, C, headers, da 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 da. Okay, so that is structural framing for a single story building. We have our roof trusses, you have your posts and columns, and then here you have lateral bridging. Points it out right there. Lateral bridging, see detail 2 in 204. But we won't do that now because when you take the class, we would have done that already. So this is a quick overview of what structural framing looks like for a single story building, roof trusses, post columns, headers, how they're connected. If you have any additional information you need and you're a student, please feel free to sign up at our homepage. We have online office hours where we'll set a time for you specifically to assist you in any other way that we can. Once again, thank you for joining, and I will see you at the next class.